Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show.
Do you not want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, Sadie.
She didn't answer it.
Did you hear her?
What'd you say?
Did you get my sweatshirt?
Oh, I have had your sweatshirt. It's sitting on my shelf at the gym, waiting to be worn.
She means me. We were just talking about that. Emily,
I said,
you need to get Sadie's sweatshirt.
You do.
you do.
Both of you. I got it from both of you.
You do.
Okay, so we're gonna start then, Sadie.
You ready?
Do you want to take your shoes off?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. We are back for another episode. We hope you enjoyed the last podcast on grip training, and maybe you've made some adjustments with your own training in regards to what we talked about with grip. We are here today to talk about something that probably has a lot of parts to it, and we're not going to be able to hit everything, and we definitely won't hit everything, and we might have to do another podcast on that, maybe even another one, because there's so much to unpack when it comes to, I guess, the psychology of lifting. Would that be what we want to, use as the name of this podcast?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't thinking.
It's as good a name as any.
Couldn't think of how do we discuss the psychology behind, I guess, lifting or training or whatever it is, because, we deal with so many different people every day who want to do this, who want to train, who want to get stronger. But there's so much to this type of training that's different from just going out for a walk or, going to the gym and, getting on the treadmill or the elliptical. Right. Yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit about, what we've gone through ourselves as lifters, and what we go through as coaches with our clients, especially with our clients, I'd say, because there's definitely different, it affects people in different ways. When people come to the gym, they all come at least for us, they all come for the same reason, to get stronger, to move better. But then once they start training, it can go in so many different ways, right? And I think we wanted to talk today about just that in general, like what we see and what we see in people as they start to train, as they start to, yeah, I'm trying to think of how do we really approach this and get started?
How you explain the topic, but basically at the end of the last podcast, you had said something about talking about some of the psychological factors involved in training. Mm-hmm. And then we both forgot about that, and Diego reminded us. And so
he said, you were going to talk about the psych. I'm like, I was going to talk about the what?
So then we started thinking about that again. There's just so many different ways to come at this topic. It's such a broad topic.
Yes.
And we were sort of back and forth brainstorming a little bit about how we might approach it. And each kind of maybe getting hung up on different aspects of it. But, none of them really, huge in-depth discussions, just sort of like a bird's eye view of a lot of different topics, just sort of touch on a lot of different psychological factors that one might experience while lifting this in this manner.
Right. Because it's easy to go to the gym and just, get on a piece of cardio equipment and watch the TV. And now you're at the gym. You're doing your part. You're going to the gym. They tell you to get some more exercise. You're getting your exercise.
Check the box.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, one of the catchphrases associated with starting strength is, or I think anyway, is if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
Right. And I think this is true. Lifting heavy weights, lifting in this manner is not easy. A lot of people don't do it. And I think about that a lot, like, because I'm working part of my time in a commercial gym setting. So just exactly what you're describing is what I see people do all the time. And it's easier. It's lots easier. There's people who show up. There's one guy who shows up and he gets on the elliptical. Everything's spaced out now so that you're 6 feet apart. And he gets on they've got all this cardio equipment in the lobby. So you can hear everything this guy talks about down in the training room. And he gets on there at like 7:30 a.m. every day on the elliptical, and he starts like complaining about football games, talking about football. And did you see this play? And did you, so like that's his thing. He likes to talk about football. That's fun for him. Like a lot of people will go to fitness classes and they kind of dance around. But a lot of those situations are situations in which a person kind of checks out, sort of mentally, or isn't necessarily paying attention to their body. Maybe they're doing a group fitness class and they're watching what the instructor is doing, so they're kind of more caught up in mirroring or mimicking, but not necessarily. I mean, even in yoga classes, when they're telling the participants like to really kind of tune into their body, they're paying attention to the person next to them breathing too loud or whatever it is. But like, people show up at the gym, they get on the treadmill, they watch the TV. It's a way that people move without paying attention to their body. Like somebody entertain me so that I can just not pay. And this is so intentional and purposeful.
Absolutely.
And you're paying such close attention to how your body is moving through space with a heavy object. It's the exact opposite of what a lot of people go to the gym for. I want to go to the gym to tune out and forget about my body while I'm doing a thing that's supposed to be good for my body.
Exactly.
It's sort of ironic.
Exactly. And it's interesting to have how many years like gone to a gym. I mean, I started going to the gym when I was 18, when I started college. And, I'd go, and we've talked about this. I'd go specifically to exercise, to sweat, to burn calories. Like that was the whole point of the gym at the time, was I need to go because I'm dancing and I need to make sure that I stay this size, and I can't get heavy and I can't gain weight, and I'm going to lose weight. And that was in my, in my late teens and early 20s. And then things started to shift, and I found myself going to the gym to relieve stress. It definitely was a stress reliever. I'd go to the gym, I relieved stress, it felt good. I started teaching cycling, teaching spinning classes, and that was great. Here I am, I'm able to go to the gym, I get free membership. Oh, and I get to instruct too, and I like teaching. I enjoy teaching. I mean, I've taught dance, I was teaching, elementary school. So there was that kind of instructional side to it, as well as getting the free membership and then getting a workout, right? Definitely shifted totally to the other side when I started strength training, when we found this program and started to really focus on, this is what it means to actually train. This is what it means to actually make a difference in your body and in your mind about your body. And the shift became, I have to go and I have to focus on every little thing I do, what weight goes on the bar, how I feel rep to rep, how I feel set to set. And is it, am I making the good changes? Do I feel okay? How's my mindset today? Can I attempt this weight? How heavy was that? I mean, it was a completely different way of approaching, the gym.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about that, because like while you're describing it, there's so many things that are going on in your brain, so many things that you're considering about how your training is going to go for that day. But what I hear from a lot of people who are starting out with, this sort of program or trying to adjust to this type of training, oh my God, it's so boring.
Yes.
You just want me to do the same thing every single time, which gets back to kind of like my point where what I see often in the gym is people who want to be entertained.
Right.
People who want to be distracted, not people who want to be made more keenly aware of their own bodies.
I was told when I was a spin instructor, and you brought the word entertain a couple times, and I've always, I tell the story to people all the time. I went through a number of fitness directors when I was at this commercial gym, and we must have gone through maybe 8 or 9 in the span of 6 years that I was there. So we actually had fitness directors leave and within like even half a year period. I don't know what kind of job it was, though I entailed it, had such big turnover, but I'm sure it just, pays bad and, things, there's always management issues. But one of the fitness directors had us, when we were at a meeting one day, she told us that we were there to extertain.
Is that a combination of exercise and entertain?
Yes. You're not here to instruct, you're here to extertain. And I heard that word and I thought, they're adults. I'm not here to entertain them. I'm not a clown. I have no control. I'm hoping that when they come and take my spin class, they're actually getting something, worthwhile. Like I put time and energy into my spin class. I put my mixes were always like, I had different mixes every single time. I had a whole class, it was a sprint day, it was a hill day, it was a combination day. It wasn't a fly by the night. I took my classes seriously. And I was hoping that people who were coming to take my classes were taking it seriously. Some were, some weren't. But I'm not about to extertain people. I'm not going to shout out, good job. I'm not going to go give high fives to people. Like, these are adults, man. Like, if you need that to come to the gym, to get on a bike and pedal for 45 minutes.
And that's interesting too.
I'm sorry.
The spin class or the indoor cycle class or whatever. I mean, there's different words for that. And the way I taught spin, it was like, you were paying attention to your pedal stroke and your body and all of that, like pretty similar to this kind of stuff. But there were always people coming in and they wanted to like, woohoo and like cheer and sing along and do whatever.
No. The instructors I favored when I was taking class, and then the instructors I still favored, the ones I said nothing. They said nothing. They said just enough. They said, okay, it's a hill, or turn it up a notch, or take it down, or, they gave instructions. They gave cues. Mm-hmm. And you listen to those cues.
Still, it's like you think about spin. I mean, that's even more repetitive and boring.
Oh my God.
Like, at least you get to do multiple lifts when you're doing the starting strength, right? Like you're going to do an upper body, a lower body, like you're going to do different things.
So you have to, So I think the people who enjoy it, who enjoy the training, are people who, I think that we always say this, people who like to work hard, have had to work hard in their lives to get to where they are. I think there's something about the people who do like this, who stick with it. They've worked hard in other areas, to get to where they are. That's something that they enjoy the process. And also people who see the bigger picture, they see the bigger picture, because it is boring. I used to ballet. Ballet is very boring. It's very repetitive, but guess what? It makes you a good dancer if you stick with it and you focus on it, and you understand that it provides you with that foundation for all. People come who want to get stronger and see that big picture are the ones who see the benefit of that repetitiveness. They understand that in order to get better, they have to repeat and repeat and repeat and practice, sometimes to an extreme where they can get too far into it. And that kind of goes along with, I think, that first note that we were talking about, perfectionism. So I want to touch on that, because that's what happens. What happens when you start this, you get really into it, you're involved with it, but 5-6 months later, you're still practicing, and you will be, and you get frustrated because why don't you have it good enough now? Why aren't you where you should be? Why do I have to keep reminding you something? You should be better at it by now. You've only been doing it for 5 months. Can you give yourself a break? How do we?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing too. When you think about the
point one,
I have had clients who are perfectionists. Like glass is all full or all empty or whatever. And when life starts to get difficult or overwhelming, when they aren't able to maybe do absolutely everything that's written down on the program, they can't adapt.
Yeah.
These are people who it's like, I'm supposed to do 3 lifts today, but I only have half an hour. So I'm going to do nothing, because I'm either going to do all of it or nothing. And some people you can kind of like help work them out of that all or nothing mindset. but other people really struggle with that. And it's not only just like all or nothing in terms of can I complete everything that's written down on my program. It's also like you're talking about why are you still needing to cue me not to not to let my knees glide forward at the bottom of the squat or whatever it is. Why do I have to keep getting these same cues? The other thing though, I mean, it's like from the outside, what you're doing does look very repetitive. It's the same lift over and over. But here's where the psychological bit of it comes in. There's different stuff that goes on inside of a person's head. And sometimes it's got to do with how they're balancing their life with their work.
Right.
But it also has to do with what's the weight on the bar. So a person might be doing the exact same lift. It might be a squat, but now all of a sudden they've got big wheels on there and now they have to deal with a different aspect of lifting, which is, if they perceive that, big wheel on there, the 135 squat, you first get to those big plates. And for a lot of women in particular, when they get to that point, it's like, oh, we're not playing around anymore.
Right.
And you got to work to stay calm.
Right.
You got to work to not freak out. You got to, okay, this feels hard. This is slow, but I'm not going to panic. So there's different psychological adaptations that have to happen, that coincide with the lifting, even though it looks the same from the outside. That's really got nothing to do with perfectionism right there.
But I think it does. I think it goes along with that. It does, because it's usually the women, right, who were the perfectionists, right? We want to be good.
Yeah, but I've got like a guy online, and it was a guy, and he told me, like, I could see this, that he was a perfectionist. Like he would do a set, and, so say he's benching and the bar path is, off. He's pushing it up instead of back, and he can feel it. And like, I can see it while it's happening, and he can feel it while it's happening. And I've got his video, and he'll rack it. And then I see him cussing, right? Like he's cussing, he's mad. He's like, he expects perfection from himself. So it does.
It does. I think more so, definitely more so with women. I think women are by far more type A, person, have more of a type A personality than a guy. A guy can shrug it off. Like, it's not a big deal. Like I've got so many guys who like, they'll miss a rep, or, they'll do two, and I'll tell them rack it, and they'll rack it, and they're not going to like break down. And then I have some of my female clients who they'll break down. They've disappointed you. I've disappointed my coach.
Well, they feel that way.
I've disappointed myself.
They haven't disappointed you, but they
haven't, but they feel that way. And it's, yes, there are definitely men, because I have an older lifter who will constantly apologize, and I have to, we constantly yell at him to stop apologizing. But there's that fear, that's that feeling, I think, with women, and some more in particular, who are still a little bit shy about themselves or have low self-esteem. And this is hopefully bringing their, giving them more confidence. It's going to take a long time, because any mistake they make, or anytime they get corrected for something, they want to fix it right away. I have one client who's like that, immediately wants to fix it. And I've had to really work hard to help her understand this is going to happen over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
because like for a newer lifter, or somebody who's a perfectionist, you think you're going to fix it the one time. And what you don't realize is that the weight that you used to do that, now is easy for you, that used to be heavy for you. There's going to be another weight like that in your future that's going to be heavy for you now. And your form is going to start to degrade.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a point in the future where that heavier weight is now easier, and your form doesn't degrade there. It degrades like 20 or 25 pounds heavier than that. But that process kind of keeps happening.
And I think as a female coach, and you too, I can empathize with that wholeheartedly, because that was me. There are many times I cried in the gym. Oh my God, how many times did I cry in the gym? I think we talked about this once. I cried at jiu-jitsu one day where I wasn't getting something right away. And I literally had to tell myself, pull yourself together. Don't let them see you cry. I bawled my eyes out when I got into the car, because I was so mad that how come I'm not getting it now? Well, Emily, you go once a week. What do you expect? You're not.
I expect perfection.
Exactly. This is not your life. You have a business that you have to run. You should be doing this for fun. And I had to really stop and tell myself, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And that's another point that we talked about.
I was thinking about that
finding
that
joy.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Finding joy within this. So there's perfectionism, wanting to be good at this, and then getting so mad at yourself when you don't. Are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying the process? Is this something that you maybe don't want to do because it upsets you too much because you need to be perfect? I think it's going to happen in anything. If that person's that way they're going to be that way with anything that they try. It's always going to be, I have to be perfect. So learning to accept yourself and understand that there is no perfectionism. I don't think that exists. We can
that
work.
It's not helpful, or it doesn't serve you.
Right. So is it necessary to, we mentioned something about finding joy with the training. So I think that's another part of it too. You know,
yeah, well, you were talking before too about like people who are able to keep their eye on the bigger picture, right? Because I think like finding joy in what you're doing sometimes can be finding joy in the moment, right? Like, hey, this was a really fun workout, or I just got a PR, or I had a great training session. Everything felt light today and I didn't expect it to. Or maybe you're finding joy in the moment in that training session because your friends are there and you've got somebody to hang out with and talk to in between your work sets or something like that. But sometimes the actual training session can suck and you can hate it, but you find joy knowing what the bigger picture is. Right. So you can find joy in the in the goal, right? Even if the particular day has a less than joyful.
I like that. I like that so much. I think that because that is so true. And I feel that way myself. And I definitely see that with people when they're with people who, when the gym's busy and there's a lot of energy going on, everyone's having a good day. Everyone seems to be having, whatever's going on, it doesn't matter because there's this energy. And sometimes even when it's quiet, there's still a nice energy because people are focused. They're focused on what they're doing. That they have time to kind of like really just pay attention to themselves because there isn't a lot going on. So it kind of can be both ways. And I know even when things aren't working for me, I try to find something within that session to be like, well, that's okay. Even though I strained my ab doing the ab wheel rollout, which I did, by the way, I strained my ab. Like
Emily serves you right.
2 weeks ago. And then the other day I was trying to train, and every time I went to lie down the bench or press, it felt like someone was taking my ab and just like pulling it and then stabbing me with like a knife. And I was laughing at myself like,
well, did you learn not to do the ab wheel?
I learned not to do the ab wheel. So like after you haven't done it for years and years and years, and then you go full out and I had to laugh because I was describing myself getting set up for the different lifts. And Craig was laughing at me because everything, I'm like, if people don't think they use their abs when they lift, they're sorely mistaken because everything I did required my abs to be on. And
they were like, ow,
dumbbell rows. And I was doing tricep overhead work with the cable machine. And I was like crying, trying to pull the thing up. So was it a good session? Yeah. Overall, it was a good session. Did I have to drop my weight for the bench because I couldn't hold the bar because my ab was screaming at me? Sure. But that's okay. Like I got my work done. I got in there. I knew it was going to be okay, but I still enjoyed myself. And I kind of found the joy in the fact that I was still there dealing with this ab and then laughing and thinking about all the people who want to do abs. And all I just always tell them is just put a bar over your head. Just pick a bar up, just squat, because your abs are working all the time. And not to do the ab wheel roll out. So finding joy in your training can be difficult if you're a perfectionist. You have to kind of handle yourself with that, like control the perfectionism in order to sometimes say stop and see the like I said, bigger picture of like, why am I doing this? Do I like what I'm doing? Is this bringing me something that it's missing in my life? And that can be hard.
Sometimes though, I think like I've worked with people too, where they're committed to the big picture, right? Mm-hmm. They want to be stronger. They know that that's an important part of being healthier. But they don't actually enjoy anything at all about the barbell. And so and sometimes I fall in this category. Sometimes I'll have days like this, but I have definitely worked with some older clients who, are lifting in the way that Sully talks about, like they're athletes of aging. This is their medicine.
Mhm.
What's the dose of medicine that I'm supposed to take today? It tastes terrible while I'm taking it.
Right.
I don't enjoy this at all. But so that's a sort of situation where you try. I always try and have some part of the workout or the training session that is enjoyable to them, even if there's like a heavy top set that they hate and they're cursing me about,
Right.
Or something along those lines. But the next day, when they're stronger or better able to do their life or keep up with their grandkids or whatever, like they appreciate it. Even if they don't actually like training in the moment.
I think I have just one client who's like overset. No, Manny and Esther love it too. So I have a couple clients who love it, right? That's all they want to do. They love it, but it makes them crazy, especially, I talked about my own client, Manny. Makes him crazy because he's such a perfectionist. See, there's a gentleman. Yeah, it's not all women, I know. But he loves it. Doesn't matter anymore. He's getting better about not being in his head. My mother, and then I think Jay's mom.
But even still, like working with family is tough.
Jay's mom and they don't. I think they like it. They're okay with it. If it wasn't for me, and my mother will say this: if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't your gym, there's no way in hell I'd do this. That's how she puts it. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you. So I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of, I'm glad that you're doing it then. I'm glad that I'm the one who's pushing you, because I'd want it for her if for whatever reason I wasn't doing it. But I have another client who is not related to me, and he said the same thing to her. He goes, if it wasn't for Emily, I wouldn't do this. So it definitely, having a good coach, having, for an older lifter, for a master athlete, having a good coach, somebody that they trust, makes all the difference. And I don't really like this. I know it's good for me.
Right.
But this person is making it, on a sense, quote, easy for me to do it, even though it's hard. It's not like it's not lightweight. I push them just enough. I manage their training well enough that they work hard, but it doesn't, they don't feel the impact, let's say, of a younger lifter who's lifting really, really heavy, right? They also can't lift that much. So I can push them really hard and they just can't produce enough energy to really, strain themselves too much. But it's just good. It's just enough work, and it's just in the right amount of time that he comes and he trains. This is not the first thing he wants to do, but he knows it's good for him. He knows he feels better. And I think he likes the work enough. He kind of said to me, I can't believe, you make this fun. And we squat, and we bench, and we press, and we deadlift. I mean, we do everything, but somehow I make it fun. I make it, so you can do it.
Wait,
right.
Did you just say you were extra-taining?
Wasn't extra-taining. No.
That's what I thought I was hearing. You're making it fun, Emily.
I make it fun, but I do make it fun. I make it fun. I make it enjoyable. I mean, because it is. I think if you're around the right people, and they all like him, they all know him. They want to see him. So when he comes, like I said, there's the energy, and I think he likes that. He's not just with me, and there's some days it's just the two of us. On the days that when I'm not open in the morning, I train him. But the days that he is there, there's a nice vibe. There's a good vibe.
Yeah, but it's like having a community or support for other people who are doing the same thing is a difference.
It makes a big difference. That your whole psyche it's very different when there are other people there and you see who are doing the same, who are doing just what you're doing.
Yeah, I've said this multiple times already, but just since the lockdown, what was that, 18 years ago now?
Right.
With the first one, and I got all of the equipment in my basement, and now I'm just that's my habit. It's so much faster. I should be coming up to 5x3, but it's just so much faster.
Sure, of course.
Done by 10 in the morning or something like that, or 9 in the morning. But it's so much harder to get psyched up to do heavy. Well, for me, it's always heavy squat. I have a hard time getting psyched up for, but to do that myself in my basement is a lot harder than just you're with other people and it's we're all doing the same thing and let's just get it done.
Yeah.
And then I'll do my squat and then I'll sit down and we'll talk and like,
It's very different. Having that community can make a huge difference in somebody. I think that's why people do seek out a gym, right? And they do come. They want to learn this. They want to learn this in an environment because they need to be around people. They're not going to do this on their own. They're not going to do this at a commercial gym, because at a commercial gym, you walk in, everybody's got headphones on. Everyone's in their own little world, unless they're taking group classes, and they don't necessarily want to do the group classes. But they need to find something where they're going to get what they're looking for. And even within the environment, the group environment, I mean, there's music playing, there are people coaching, but you can still kind of find your own self, right? You can get your rack, and you can kind of immerse yourself in that space. So you can be there kind of alone, or have your time in that rack while there's still other people around.
Yeah, but see, that's why when you're in a commercial gym, you put the headphones in so you can find that your alone space.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you got the guy talking about the football games.
Right.
really loud.
Right. And people are doing that. I mean, but people, who are, they're talking after they've done their lift, but even it's still like this kind of place where you can do your thing, and then you can step aside and you can have a conversation with somebody. You can still engage with somebody. So there's that motivation of someone else is here, and I got to get my set. Okay. Yeah. I got to get mine done too. And then they split and they go away and they do their work, and then they come back for a few minutes. And that's what I think that helps keep some people motivated, definitely, to continue to do this, because there are other people who are doing it with them. Right. I think we talked about it. So stay motivated. How do you stay motivated if you're not? Let me backtrack. We talked about competitiveness and being non-competitive, right? Because
actually, we didn't talk about that once we record.
But no. I mean, we talked about this like in our notes. Like we mentioned, right. We were thinking of notes for the podcast. So we've done perfectionism, finding joy. For some people, there's some people who are competitive, and then there are many people who are not competitive. So motivation. How do you help someone stay motivated, or how do you stay motivated if maybe you after so many months you're like, okay, I got to go to the gym. What am I doing there? What am I going there for? Am I going there to see people? Am I going there to, you start to kind of question, maybe, what is my purpose for continuing to do this? So what do you think? How do you stay motivated? Or how have you helped your clients stay motivated?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, just the way the Starting Strength program is structured, when you initially begin and you're on a novice linear progression, like every time you show up at the gym, you have a new PR. It's very exciting, right? And I think even people who aren't like innately competitive kind of get into that. Like there's this, what can my body do that I had no idea
right.
It could do?
Right.
Or, the idea that they, that is for women, especially, I just picked my weight up off the floor. Like I can carry my own weight. I can eat, like finding out what, some of the reaches of your own personal strength are, if that's an area that you haven't explored before, can be really motivating initially. And then you get to late novice, and then you get to intermediate, and those PRs get spaced far apart. For people who've been lifting a long time, those PRs might be like months apart, a year apart, so
yeah.
That at some point may not be as motivating a factor for some people.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who are competitive to the, such that they're going to participate in a lot of meets or, strongman, strongwoman events, and that keeps them motivated. They've got a goal. My husband's really a lot that way. To get him to do any sort of exercise, he needs to have a goal.
Sure.
So, typically for him in the past, it has been like, I'm going to sign up for this race. Running's an easy thing to do. You just put your sneakers on, you can do it anywhere.
Right.
You don't need the equipment. You don't need as much time or attention to what you're doing. And, but a lot of people stay motivated if they have a goal in mind. But if somebody's not especially competitive, doesn't want to, doesn't have any dream of ever being up on a platform, like that's scares the bejesus out of them, then it's like a little, you got to find another way to stay motivated or keep your eye on the bigger picture and keep on keeping on.
Yeah, that's really hard. I mean, that's tricky. That's how, I mean, I have clients who've been with me for 5, 6, 7 years. And then I have clients who will stay with me for a year, or 7 months or 5 months, and maybe it's because, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody kind of comes in perhaps with the same goal, quote unquote, I want to be stronger. And then it's always like after month 3, okay, who's going to continue with this? Who really wants to make themselves stronger? Who can see the bigger picture? That's not that, sure, you're going to build strength and you're going to keep building strength, but those PRs are going to come a little slower now. Now it's becoming even more repetitive. Now you're lifting almost sometimes the same weight for a couple weeks in a row, right? Programs changed. We've added a few things, but how do you help someone see really the big picture down the road of like, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life, and why this is important to you, why this is something that you want to consider doing. And that's when I throw in the whole, your bones are getting stronger, your muscles are getting stronger, your tendons, you're going to age better, you're not going to injure yourself as much, you're going to, be able to do more for yourself, be more active as you get older. I mean, I think I start to see that big picture of when I'm 80, I want to be able to do X.
So that you're like,
that's not that sexy though.
yeah. But how old are you now? You're younger than I am, but
I'll be 47 next month. Thank you.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like once you get like maybe into your 40s or 50s or, whatever, and definitely like, seniors are thinking about that, aging with strength. Right. That's definitely a big motivator, a big concern. That's a lot harder sell for somebody who's in their 20s. Right? True. When you're in your 20s, you're pretty much immortal, I think.
Right.
So like, I don't need to think about when I'm 80 because I'm 20 now, forever. 20, right. But it's forever 21.
Right. That's hard. That's why it's like the motivation. And I think about that a lot with my newer clients.
So like for somebody who's that age range and doesn't fall into the category of someone who is competitive and wants to kind of continually work hard and get PRs, like they just kind of want to do, like.
I think that's where sometimes a little change in the program can go a long way. I mean, and that's what we do. I mean, we've even revamped the novice program. We don't do a 3-day, we do it over a 4-day split. Person can train twice a week, 3 times a week, but their program is it's 4 days. It's a 4-day program, not a 3-day program. Even if they're training 3 days, they have a day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So we've taken the program and we've made it's a little more varied. You're still hitting all the lifts. You're still doing a novice progression, but you have a lot more upper body work in there. The way that we've designed it, the way that we've worked it out. That right then and there keeps people actually attentive, and it looks so much more appealing than the AB split, right? And then once they finish with that, then we turn them into the intermediate program, a late novice intermediate program that we have. And that kind of has the same rhythm that they've been doing. It has the same amount of upper body work, but now it's like they're set days. That's all new too. So there's a way to kind of keep them motivated by just adjusting the way that their program is running, the order of the lifts, or, light day, heavy day, or throwing in some push-ups or starting to do chin-ups or rows, something that's going to like keep them like, I'm really training. I've got these lifts down. I'm moving into, oh, this is new. Oh, this is something different. Oh, this is new. So it's good for them too. It's not just, throwing them in something that's really just like whatever. It's something that's going to only make them better. And
so I think, so you're talking about a little more variety into the program.
Yeah. Keep the same,
keep the same skeleton, the same
skeleton, everything. Yes.
Put a different outfit on it, or whatever. But I think also another thing that can help with that sort of age range in particular, but anyone really, is encouraging other physical activities and interests so that they can see the benefit, experience benefit of being stronger. So if somebody is a mountain biker or they do BJJ or whatever, they go and they maybe have, seasons where they're more involved in their other activity and really reap the benefit of the strength training and the strength that they've built. And then, not stop entirely, but like shift their focus at various times of year to kind of keep the strength training a little bit less repetitive and to actually see the reward of it.
Yep.
A lot of the older clients really feel that in their everyday life because they don't get worn out. They have more energy to do the things, activities of daily living. And people who are younger maybe don't feel that quite as much. But if, they're participating and they're playing on the county rec soccer team and they can, perform better because they are stronger, then that's incentive as well.
Yeah, no, I think, and we do have that. Many of my younger clients do have outside activities, and they definitely can see, the difference. I mean, it's, I have, people tell me that, I can shame people very, very quickly into continuing to do something. I had one of my clients injured herself playing on the field in a sport, and emailed me and said she injured her knee and she's going to have to cancel her membership. And I said, no. I said, you have another good leg and 2 good arms.
I reject your cancellation.
So I don't see why you would cancel your membership if you can't. I said, can you go to work? Can you drive? Can you walk? Of course. Well, then you can come in and you can train. And she did. Like she heard that. I said, I'll create a program for you.
That gets back to the all or nothing, like the perfectionism.
Yeah, I have
do it the way it was written out originally, and people, you just helped her see it a different way.
Yeah, and people learn that. And she spent 2 months then benching and pressing, seated benching, leg up on the bench. I mean, she basically did my post-surgery program, pre-surgery for her. Mm-hmm. She went into her surgery and she was back in the gym 5 days later. And she said, I went into my surgery so much stronger and came out of it, and I'm going to heal. And she's recovering faster, and she hasn't missed any sessions, and she's looking great. And she's basically benching almost where she was with both legs, and she's got both feet on the floor now. She can bend her leg now, but that's right there. It's like, no, I can keep people motivated because you've got to be in dire straits for me to tell you don't come to the gym, but it's an encouraging thing too. It's not someone saying, oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's more like, oh yeah, that sucks. Well, by the way, this is what we can do. Here's what I can do for you. I had a client who a couple months into his training had I call it the recycling injury. He was taking his recycling out and twisted his ankle. And he emailed me and said, Emily, this is what happened. What do I do? I said, come in. And we can bench, come in and we can do seated presses, and come in and we can, and he came in and he kept training. And, after ankle, got better, we started squatting again and he was fine. So he learned very quickly early on in his training with us that there is always something that you can do. And I think that's helping people stay motivated because something's going to hurt every now and then. Something's going to come up. How do I get to the gym? How do I keep my program going? How do I stay engaged? Well, that's up to the coach to figure out exactly what to say, how to modify the program, how to modify that, so maybe they can't get in for the hour and a half. They only have a 45-minute block of time. Okay, I can help you with that. That's you who have to keep that person kind of sometimes motivated, right? By encouraging them to look, I can take your program from 3 days to 2 days. I can take your program from an hour and a half to 45 minutes. Right. Kelly is training for the Stronger Together meet. She's got an hour and 15 minutes because she's got the baby at home now. That's all she has. So I had to take her program 3 days a week and really pare it down. And her weights are not that heavy still for her. And she's got an hour and 15 minutes and she finished today. And I said, how is that? She goes, it's perfect. And that's how you can kind of keep somebody motivated too. Just by, hopefully they'll come to you and say, look, this is my situation. I need help. You're going to go, oh, sorry. Sucks to be you. Program calls for 3 days, 2 hours a day. You're going to lose them as a client. But but that's, you have to kind of, I feel like for the clients, I have to catch them early on when I start to see something starting to, fizzle. Maybe they're not coming in every week like they used to. Something's going on. How do we get them back on that horse and show them the bigger picture, again. Yeah, that can be tricky. So that leads me to something we can probably end with this. I don't want to end on the sour note, though. We might have to think of something else to end on a better note. But it's we talked about, you and I before the podcast with our notes about if you're having an off day or if you are depressed. So those who really enjoy this, right? They do enjoy this, but they have stressors in their life that sometimes can put a damper on the enjoyment they get from this type of training. What are your thoughts about that for people that, I don't know if you've worked with anybody like that. I have.
Yeah. Well, I guess so whatever, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but we did sort of do a whole episode on training with stress is
yeah, we did.
Or deep and profound, but we didn't specifically talk about depression in regards to that. But yeah, I have a client who has clinical depression, and certain times of year are harder than other times of year for her. She's on medication, and sometimes even just being awake is hard for her. If she works or she's got kids, and when they have busy weekends, it takes her days to recover. And so she gets up, gets the kids off to school, and then goes a lot of times right back to sleep until they come home again, and she has to be awake again.
Yeah.
So finding time during that chunk when she, doesn't have responsibilities for kids or job or whatever, and finding the energy and the willpower to come in. Last week, she was saying to me, she came in the afternoon, right? She knew she was going to need to go back to sleep after the kids had gotten off to school. She said to me, "You have no idea how many times I picked up the phone to call you to cancel today."
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm here. So, and that's a lot of times for people, getting there is hard. Getting to the gym is hard. And that's where, if you have a coach, if you have a community, if you have somebody that you're working with where you do the hard work of getting there, and then you're just following the directions or doing what somebody else is laying out for you, it's a little bit easier than trying to get yourself there and then get yourself to do
exactly
and that you've written out for yourself, or the program that you've, the template that you've downloaded. If there's somebody else there that's sort of encouraging or guiding or structuring the workout, that can help.
Yeah, I know that there've been a few articles that have been written by people training with depression and how it's helped them. That training has actually helped them because it has given them something to look forward to, that there is, but as you said, sometimes what happens if the person is having such a bad day where they can't get out of bed, they can't leave the house to go and do something that they know is going to make them feel better? That's hard. And that's when you just say, you take that day. That's not your day. Your day is to take care of yourself. You need that self-care. It's okay. You'll come in the next time, and the person usually does. But being okay with yourself, if you suffer from depression, being okay with saying to yourself, I can't make it in today. And that's okay. And my coach understands, the community understands, people will understand. I have a client like that. And she's doing much, much better, but sometimes there are bad days. Sometimes there's a bad week. And she'll text me and she says, I just can't, I'm having a bad week. I'm having a bad couple of days. I'm like, I'll see you when I see you. I'll see you when you can get in. And the time, she gets in, the session's great. She doesn't worry about missing. She doesn't worry about, I'm not doing the program. She doesn't worry about, it's just when she's able to get in, she gets in. And knowing that there's no punishment for that. She's not weak. I think
Right.
that's a big part of it, is that someone's weak if they can't make it in, because, you should just be able to snap out of it. That's not that easy. We've talked about that in the past. So that's that psychology, that lifting motivation may be very difficult if you're not, if you really have that other side of you that's kind of pulling you to say, you know what, I need to take care of myself here, and I'm not going to do very well if I'm outside the house. Not today.
And it's a hard type of training. It's it's a lot easier, I think, like we said at the beginning, for many people to get motivated to just go do something that is easy or relaxing.
Absolutely.
or whatever, like go out and go for a walk. And if somebody is suffering from depression, maybe going out and going for a walk and getting some sunshine is actually going to be a good choice some days, instead of being in a basement gym.
That's
you
right.
got to sort of find a balance and figure out what you can do within your limits.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that there are quite a few coaches who've been very open about their struggles with depression. Nicole Rutherford has been very open about her struggles, and there are days when she cannot leave her bed, and it's something she's been dealing with, and I like that she's very open about it, because I think some people think that everybody has it all together. We all have it all together all the time. Those of us who coach or lift, or not really. There are plenty of days. No, not really. I'm very happy that I have, I found a way to work on, and I know she works on it too, to work on my anxiety and to work on myself, and drugs can help. So that is part of it.
You mean prescribed drugs, medication?
Prescribed drugs, not drugs.
You got to be careful how you say that.
Drugs. No cocaine. No, prescribed drugs can help. Prescription drugs, and because sometimes you just need something extra. I mean, I always say that the work in the gym for me is very medicinal, right? It's a prescription for me. It helps me. It's my therapy. It really is. But for some people, it can be anxiety driven. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I've been there, and it's like you're saying, like you can work on it. Like some people would call it maybe like meat jitters or something that I got. But I got myself so worked up, like into this like perfectionist mindset. So worked up about my deadlift before one of the meets. But the bar just stopped coming off the ground.
Yep.
Warm up weights stopped coming up off the ground.
Yep.
So it's a very interesting kind of training, and you learn a lot about yourself when you're doing it, and you learn a lot of or hopefully what a person does also is learns a lot of skills that can help make them mentally or psychologically stronger, as well as physically stronger, because a lot of what happens is facing your fears.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like we're talking about before, you put the big wheels on the bar for the first time, there's a fear or anxiety, like, I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can do this. Some people don't feel that way, right? Like I always sort of laugh about, like, it makes me laugh, like the music that people listen to when they're lifting, because I'm a person who gets anxious, and the music I tend to like to listen to, even when I'm lifting heavy, is more like, bubblegum pop, right? Like, I am not one of the people with like angry lifting music going on in the background. I think people who naturally gravitate towards the angry lifting music and maybe are naturally more competitive, like a lot of this stuff might sound like, I don't know, a foreign language or just a completely unrelatable experience. But the intentionality and the expectation that a person can put on themselves, because it's a program after all. I followed the program. Why can't I do this now? I ought to be able to do this now. Why aren't I functioning like a machine?
Right.
It can be disorienting sometimes if you get caught in the wrong mindset, or you have to adjust your mindset. You really do learn a lot about your mental.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's why I said at the beginning, there's so much under this umbrella, because I mean, we haven't touched on nearly other aspects of this, but I want to end with, I think I talked about this at the end of the last podcast. My client who totally destroyed himself in 3 days when I was gone on vacation because he didn't follow my program.
You did sort of mention this.
He didn't follow my program. Yeah, if you don't follow your coach's program, what's the point of having a coach and paying that person to coach you if you think that that coach doesn't know what I'm talking about? So I think I'm going to just, push myself to the brink of, destroying myself, because I have a meet coming up in December. So I better go heavy this week, because I'm not going to be ready for the December meet, instead of following the program as it was written.
Like, it's October. It's early October.
This is September. This is September. I went away in September. Remember, I went away
a month. You should be doing your heavy top, your meet weight then.
It was the tongue lashing that I gave was awesome. But it was a good lesson. And he has said to me over and over again, I thank you for teaching me this lesson, that I got so caught up in numbers, and I got so caught up in, I've got to beat my own weight, and I've got to go to this meet showing myself better than, and I put myself months behind. I mean, literally weeks behind. And now that he's got a little tweak in his elbow, he's got, that's been, we used the camber bar today to squat. It has, I think it has mellowed him out, that he understands now why he does what he does here. He sees the bigger picture. He saw the bigger picture, but I think he still had that idea of like, I'm older, I'm getting older, I need to go do as much as I can now. And I think actually that was part of it, that he was turning.
Glory days, catch up.
Yeah, he was getting another. He was another year older. His birthday was coming up, and he doesn't. He's thinking about, well, what happens when? I'm thinking, don't worry about what happens when. Just think about what's happening now. You're beyond any 73-year-old that I know with what you're doing, and you've been training for a year. So you were 72 when you started this. I mean, it was a good thing that had happened to him, that he broke protocol, that he broke from the program. I'm not happy that, that did happen, because it kind of set him back, but it was a good lesson in, why are you doing this? You need to put your perfectionism to the side. You need to put your ego to the side. You need to put the fact that, that their numbers at all online that you can find of older people in your weight class doing X, Y, or Z, and think about why you do this in the first place. Like, what is the reason that you do this?
Yeah, that's interesting, because you're talking about following the program. And like, we've had actually a couple conversations about situations where a person should not follow the program. The program says this, but my life stressors are these things, or I haven't slept, or whatever. Therefore, I'm making a different call than on the program, because that's what's right for me today. But you're talking about somebody who's pushing the program the other direction.
Yes.
And what people often forget is that the reason why people will get injured is not because they're lifting something heavy. It's because they've done too much too soon or too fast. And so you're describing a situation where a person was trying to progress their program too much too soon, too fast.
And we've been doing how many months and weeks were we training this way? Why would you think that altering and going heavy every day would be the right thing to do? It's like, the cat's away, the mice will play. Well, that's what happened. The cat went away and the mouse got out of control, and like, I don't know what went down to, went off to Vegas and gambled. And I mean, it's like, and his wife was like, I'm the opposite. I like do less. Like, less is better. Emily's away, I'm not going to do nearly what she told me to do. I'm going to do as little as possible. Where he was like the opposite end, is like, I'm going to do everything I can.
I'm going to do all the things.
I'm going to do all the things. The only reason I found out was because I called my father, and I was like, how was your morning? He goes, oh, so-and-so was here for like 4 hours. I'm like, 4 hours? What the hell was he doing there for 4 hours? He's deadlifting, he was squatting. I'm like, it's Wednesday. He's only supposed to bench and press. I mean, we're talking like veered off the railroad track and got run over by a train, and then went off.
I'm going to do 2 weeks of training during this 1 week while Emily's gone.
3 days. He laughs about it now, and I laugh about it. But but it was like I said, it was a very good lesson. I think we've all. He's not the first person to have learned this lesson. With I've learned a lesson too about less is more, right? Less is more. That took me a long time, right? My program right now, I'm training for the Stronger Together meet. And Diego, I have a kind of a mission.
Are you participating?
I am. I'm training with Jen, with Craig's client.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, Jen is benching and deadlifting, and I'm squatting and pressing. So I decided to do it. So I have a program, and man, my workouts are an hour because I have to do less. Less is more. Diego's like, you're not training for a bodybuilding competition. You need to take out this and this and this. You need to focus on the big picture. You're squatting, you're pressing. If you tire yourself out, and you know what? He's right. So it's this is good for me to have a program that I have to be very mindful of to do less. And I'm reaping the benefits. I can see it, I'm right. I see it. So there's a reason for why, we set programs up and why it's a good thing to listen to your coach. So I think maybe we can just end on that note. And I know that we'll probably think of 1,000 other things that we want to talk about in the next in the next one. And maybe we skip and we come back to this, this topic again, because there may be, listener comments about their thoughts about their own lifting. And this is what goes on in their head and why they do what they do. And actually, we would love to hear from anybody who has thought about this and what their lifting means to them. And are they a competitive lifter? Are they non-competitive? What helps them stay motivated? What helps you stay motivated with your lifting? Why do you do this?
Yeah, what's your big picture?
Yeah. What's your big picture? Why is it important to you? We'd love to hear from you because we'd like to possibly address, other questions in the future. So we'll end there for today. Again, we'd love to hear from you. You can always contact me at Emily@5by3.com, or of course, Rebecca at
Cornerstone Strength Maryland, either .com or gmail.com.
So contact either of us. Send us your thoughts about the podcast or your comments and about your own lifting and what keeps you going strong in the gym. And we'll be back in a couple weeks with, I don't know what topic, because I think we need to make a list again.
Yeah.
Of topics. Oh no, I want to talk to Kelly and get her back on the podcast. Speaking of Kelly, who's training for the meet, because she's training for her first meet after the baby. She had Teddy in May.
Oh, so cute.
So she wasn't quite ready for Strong Woman, but she decided she wanted to do Stronger Together. So she's doing that with Lori. So she's training for that. So I'd love to have her back on the podcast. And Juliana has not been training just yet. She's not quite at 6 weeks, I think. She just had her baby in September. But Kelly's been training, so I'd like to hear her thoughts about, training since the baby's been born and how that's going, and her insight as to how she's felt kind of getting back under the bar, especially after having a C-section. So that's been, she's had to deal with that. So I'd like to have her back on. So maybe we can have her on for the next podcast and do an interview. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. For those of you who are in the Baltimore area who listen to our podcast, who are thinking of maybe competing in our meet, Stronger Together, you can register now. The meet is Sunday, December 5th. And you can go to my website. There's a blog post there on Stronger Together. Click on the link to register, and hopefully we'll get enough. We'll get our max number of lifters. Right now, I think we're about at 12 teams so far.
Oh,
so, but I think we'll have fun. It's a nice group of people so far. So, and that's it. We'll catch you in a couple weeks. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to you in a little bit. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.